Hi participants, I am Rita Meutia from Universitas Negeri Medan, Indonesia. I would like to present my research entitled Teachers Code Switching in Indonesian EFL Classroom. My slides consist of 5 parts. They are introduction, review of literature, methodology, discussion, and conclusion. Here is my introduction. Since English in Indonesia is still as a foreign language, there must be very difficult for the students to communicate with the teacher or peers, to complete the task, to learn effectively or efficiently, to acquire new concept and to elicit information in class. That's why the teacher have to seek a strategic way to convey L2 as the subject and as a means of communication in the classroom. Code switching become one of an alternative way for the teacher to convey L2 in the classroom. Classroom code switching is different from social code switching. Both the teacher and the students have imbalanced mastery of L2. Teacher in the classroom function as knowledge givers, while the students function as knowledge acquirer. Arnett, Cortez, and Park stated that classroom code switching can be used by the teacher in the classroom to transfer knowledge, to explain structure of knowledge, to give instruction, and to maintain disciplines. So, my objective of the study are: first, to identify the type of teachers code switching; second, to analyze the dominant language used by the teacher in the process of code switching and their rationale; and at last, to analyze the function of code switching in EFL classrooms. There are some researchers or some linguists who define the terms code switching. Krostin defined code switching as a complete shift from one language to another language at the sentence level, word level, phrase, or clause level. And then Way and Milber and Myers and Scotten define code switching as interchangeable use of two or more languages in the same utterance of conversation. And then Maisel and Romain sees the phenomenon of code switching from the perspective of pragmatic approach. According to them, code switching is the ability to select languages based on the participant's competence in mastering two languages, context, and topic. There are two processes of code switching: cognitive process and syntactic process. Krostin said that in code switching, the user of code switching have to pass activating process, selecting process, controlling process, and producing process. While Myers-Scotten said that code switching is the process of inserting embedded language into metric language. Embedded language refers to the language with the lower number of morpheme, while metric language refers to the language with higher number of morpheme. Sheffield divided code switching into three types. There are situational code switching, metaphorical code switching, and conversational code switching. Situational code switching occurs when a participant utters different languages in different situations. Metaphorical code switching occurs when a participant tends to change the topic followed by the change of language use because of another conversational domain. And at last, conversational code switching occurs when a participant switches the code by resembling the subsequent structure of word, phrase, clause, or sentence. Poplek and Hoffman divide code switching into three types. They are intrasentential switching, intersentential switching, and emblematic switching. Intrasentential switching occurs within a clause or a sentence boundary. And then intersentential switching occurs between a clause or sentence boundary. The last code switching is emblematic switching. It is the insertion of text, exclamation, certain phrase, or expression in one language or two languages. Generally, there are three benefits of code switching in EFL Classroom. Code switching can make input become intake for EFL learners. For low proficient students, code switching become a helpful way to make them understand. And then for high proficient students, code switching become a strategic method to reiterate the lesson. This is the methodology of my study. My research design is descriptive qualitative research, and the subject of this research is for English teacher in SMA Negeri 1 Tanjung Balai, and the technique of the data collection is observation and interview. This data then will be reduced, displayed, and verified to draw the conclusion. And the instrument of the data collection in this research is the researcher itself and the use of video recorder. To achieve the first objective of the study, the framework of public will be used by the researcher, and then to achieve the second objective of the study, metric language frame model proposed by Meyer Schouten will be used. This data then will be synchronized with the interview result derived from the interview session. And then to reach the third objective of the study, sequential analysis of teacher-student interaction will be done by the researcher. Now let's see the finding of this research. From this table, we can see that intersequential switching is mostly used by all teachers in EFL Classroom. This finding implies that the teachers are proficient enough in conveying L2 in the classroom, because Poplack said that intersequential switching is an indicator of a teacher having a good ability to use both languages, namely L1 and L2 or vice versa in the classroom. Now let's see another finding from this research. From the table, we can see that teacher F has the same perspective with teacher T. They use more L2 in the classroom than L1. And then we can see also that teacher N has the same perspective with teacher R. They use more L1 than L2 in the classroom. But in case of emblematic switching, all teachers except teacher T use L2 more than L1. From the interview session, we got the answer why some of the teacher use more L2 and why some of the teacher use more L1. In case of using more L2 in the classroom, teacher F and teacher T said that they use more L2 in the classroom because they want to expose the language as the target for the students more. So by exposing the student more L2 language in teaching, it can make them understand and learn the language automatically. And then some of the teacher that says it is L1 is more facilitative in teaching L2 said that sometimes the condition of the class make the teacher have to choose between using L2 or L1. But they believe that L1 can make the students more comfortable in learning new language, because sometimes the students will be very stressful in learning a new language. So to decrease another psychological pain from the student, L1 is a good alternative to convey L2. Now let's see the function of code switching in EFL Classroom. From the table, we can see that all the teachers mostly use code switching to facilitate comprehension, and the less number of using code switching in EFL Classroom is used to express emotive and affective expression. Now let's see the recapitulation of data distribution of each teacher. We can see from the table that teacher F mostly use code switching in classroom to explain grammar, and then teacher N and teacher R use code switching to facilitate comprehension of L2, and the last one is teacher T use code switching also to explain grammar. From this finding, we can conclude that the first, Indonesian teachers use L1 and L2 alternately because they have reasonable rationale. The second conclusion is, in teacher-student interaction, code switching occurs at word, phrase, clause, or sentence level. And then intersentential switching is the most type used by Indonesian teacher. The fourth conclusion is that in teaching L2, two of Indonesian teachers use L2 as their metric language, and others teacher use L1 as their metric language. The last conclusion is that Indonesian teachers use code switching to explain grammar, manage classroom, to bridge comprehension, to translate difficult words, clarify message, give instruction, and the last to show emotive and effective expression. Thank you for your kind attention. See you.